Okay, this is the Merrillville Plan Commission meeting, Tuesday, December 20th, 22, and it is approximately 6:30 p.m. All right, we will all stand and pledge our allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, will Mr. Minchuk please take the roll call?
Sure. Mr. Rich?
Here.
Mr. Holtz? Mr. Mellon?
Mr. Mellon is absent tonight. He went to the dentist and had a tooth pulled.
I am here. Mr. Pettit?
Here.
Mr. Deering?
Here.
Madam President?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, very good. We could continue on. The minutes of October 18th, 22, could I have an approval?
So moved. Second.
Okay, the minutes have been approved of October 18th, 2022.
Voice vote?
Excuse me.
Voice vote, Madam.
Oh, we need a voice vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Minchuk, take the voice vote.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Deering?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes.
5 yeses.
Okay, the minutes have been approved of October 18th, 20. Do we have any communications from anyone?
Madam President, we do have a letter from Attorney Bauer regarding the first petition.
Okay, regarding the first item is what
Yes,
you're talking
yes,
about?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what did they want?
So
They
I'll
want to
read the,
defer?
yeah, they want to defer. I'll read the letter.
Okay,
Dear Ms. Shine, we kindly request EP MSS LLC to be removed from the Plan Commission agenda scheduled for December 20th, 2022, and defer to January 3rd, 2023. EP MSS LLC would like to address some of the matters recently raised with respect to the conceptual plan. Thank you for this and past courtesies. Very truly yours, Greg A. Bauer.
okay, that was item 1.
Yes, ma'am.
We need
Okay.
to, we need to accept that, Joe, or motion?
We need to conduct a vote on that.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
I would like to open it up for a quick discussion.
Go ahead.
Yes.
What I was going to do tonight when they came in here was, I know there was some questions on the drainage, which we can go over at the later date if necessary. Because of the issues that we have had, and I would say this directly to the petitioner, because of the issues that we've had, they have done a nice job of addressing what we brought up back in September. But because of the non-performance in times past, I would like to see if a motion going forward is made to approve this, that we require a performance bond for everything other than his buildings. The demolition of the house, the screening, the landscaping, the berming, drainage, the whole 9 yards. That way, 5 years from now, like the situation we were in back in September, we're not going, how come you didn't do it in the last 5 years? And we can set a time limit on that, so if he fails to perform, we just pull his bond.
Joe?
Well, I think Sheila, I'm going to allow Sheila weigh in on that first, and then I'm going to weigh in.
Okay, so the conceptual, and I can defer to Bob on this. Normally, we don't make conceptual comments, but in this instance, I did give the conceptual plans to Bob Zaney, and he made conceptual comments. And I did ask them to complete those conceptual comments before they apply for preliminary, just to make sure that those things were taken care of. And if you like, Bob can comment on some of those comments that he made to them conceptual-wise.
Well, I think the main question is, if they come before us, can we request a bond?
I'm sure we can.
Well,
I will
don't
chime
know.
in, Joe, before you, because I said something, I think, at the workshop before you were here, and I know this is being recorded, and I know it's a public meeting, and I know you're probably gonna slap me upside the head when I say this, but
well,
I think.
if you ever think you're gonna do that, just don't say it.
Well, and Greg and I go way back, and I think it's extremely gutsy to have sued this town and then turn around and ask us for my vote. And that's what's gonna happen. She's gonna ask for Margie, mine, and Jeff's vote after the plan commission. I think it's incredibly gutsy to come back and ask for this. Brian, I have absolutely no problem, and I will second your motion, or I will make the motion for a performance bond.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say. The litigation is what it is. This is a separate action.
And we can vote it down.
Right, pure and distinct. I think what we have to do is we have to go upon the history of this petitioner and the change, and how many changes. And Sheila, I want to note it for the record in your staff report, how many times we've changed your conceptual plan to fit what they want. We've bent over backwards numerous times for this petitioner. Then after they don't get their way, they sue us.
Yep.
Now, I have no problem, you know. If someone wants to sue the town, go ahead and sue the town. But at the end of the day, we have to look at their performance of the project and how well they've done. And right now, I'm kind of gleaning from these comments that it's probably not been too much of a good performance so far. So what I'd say is just everybody remember, when they come before us next month, that we've had so many changes in their plan, we've accommodated them, we end up getting sued, which has no bearing on anything, but we end up getting sued. Then they're back before us again, and they're still making repairs and abiding by what they promised us a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So at this time, we're gonna, of course, probably defer this, but I just want everybody to keep in their memory banks the previous history of this project. And when we're making a recommendation to the town council, please just keep that in your memory banks, okay? Got it.
So are you suggesting we should have the performance bond?
At this time, I think that's based upon the petitioner's previous history, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing.
Okay, what does the board think?
Well, but again,
This would be when they come back.
right tonight, we're just here on the deferral.
Yeah.
Okay,
But everybody can keep in their memory banks about the potential performance bond and what we need to do.
You know, let me say this just to put everything kind of in focus. After I found out what had gone on in the intervening 4 years, and he came back to us in September, and we ran into all the issues of the non-performance of what he was supposed to do and didn't do. I called then I found out about the lawsuit. I called an old buddy of mine that has 1,000 storage units, not climate controlled. I said, what would you do to your town, or your city, actually, he's in another city. I said, what would you do to your city if they wanted to move another storage facility a mile or so away? He says, hell, they wanted to move one across the street. He says, that's the cost of doing business.
Well, no, and I think those were the arguments made at the actual argument level when we were here the first time.
Yep.
And it was denied, and of course, they've ended up suing us. Where we're at right now is we're at a very good point in the litigation. I don't want to get into too many details.
Right.
But we're at a very good point right now where I think we're gonna come out on top. But
Wait, we're still, I thought this got settled, Joe. We're still in litigation with this petitioner?
Sean,
I know you don't want to go into details, but we both.
here's where we're at. We won the argument at the Court of Appeals level.
Right,
They moved for petition to review at the Supreme Court level. So we're still awaiting the Supreme Court's decision.
I think right now we should just vote on the deferral.
I was gonna
There's
say,
a lot.
Jeff, let's call for the vote on the deferral,
Yeah,
because the
let's
more I
just-
hear,
yeah.
the more
Yeah.
I'm pissed off.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion and a second, Madam Chairman.
okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bryan.
No.
Who made the motion?
I made the
Sean?
motion, Jeff seconded.
Okay, motion by Sean Pettit and a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so at this time, item P11CP1-0922, is that a one, Counselor? Or?
Yes,
aye?
that's the one we're doing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Is deferred at this time. All the board voting in favor to defer, okay? We will
you, ma'am.
continue on with new business. Item 2, P191S5-1222, Savannah Cove LLC petitioner and owner. Located at 83rd and Grant Street, request final subdivision plat approval, Phase 1 on 34.71 acres in a R3 residential zoning district. The purpose, a two-family paired residence.
Quick correction, Madam Chairman, I believe that is FS, not 1S. I know it looks like a 1.
What are you
The
talking about, the
P1
item number?
Yeah, P19, F is in Frank.
Oh, okay, I
Five.
got you.
Yep.
P19F, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Madam President, at second, it's 73rd and Grand, I believe, isn't
Oh, I'm
it?
sorry.
Okay, I was just looking at the
well, I have
plat.
on the agenda 83rd and Grand
It
Street.
shows that
Yes,
correct.
73rd. I'm sorry.
We'll correct
73rd,
it.
thank you.
Amend the agenda.
Okay, the agenda is amended to 73rd and Grant Street, is that correct?
Want a motion?
John?
Motion.
Second, or motion to correct,
Okay,
Second,
Motion to amend the agenda.
amend the agenda.
there's a motion on the floor to amend the
And a second.
agenda. Do I need a vote, a roll
Yes.
call vote,
Yes.
or aye?
aye.
Voice. Okay, aye.
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 Okay, motion approved. Continuing on with the agenda, what do we have here?
That is the one we're addressing now, yeah.
Pardon?
That Savannah Cove is what we're addressing now.
Yeah, we're addressing the Savannah Cove, correct. Yes, sir. State your name.
Good evening, everyone. Doug Ians with Providence Real Estate Development. Thank you all for your time, and if I may make an attempt to change the tone a little bit, in my 20-some years, I have never been involved in litigation with the municipality.
Good.
That's what we like to hear.
I prefer to keep it that way. Anyway, that sidebar aside, yes, we are here as follow-up to the December 6th meeting, requesting secondary plat approval to the first phase of Savannah Cove. Everything is in substantial compliance with the primary plat. We're indicating platting approximately 30 of the paired villa lots, or duplex lots, if you will. And with that, I'll turn it over to you folks, any questions you might have.
So we're talking about two duplexes? Is that what you're building?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Questions?
Do the staff report.
Staff report, Sheila.
Petitioner is requesting final subdivision plat approval for Savannah Cove Phase 1 on 34.71 acres in a R2 two-family residential zoning district to build paired residential housing. The development will be called Savannah Cove Phase 1. The proposed plan would accommodate approximately 80 units. The subdivision will be served with common water, curb and gutter, streets, sanitary sewers, and storm sewers and streetlights.
Any questions and comments by the board? Rich?
Looks good to me.
Rich? Brian?
No, I think we've covered everything on this petitioner.
Okay, very good. Sean Pettit?
Nope.
Jeff?
You know what I'm gonna ask?
What?
The planned development, are we still looking at homes for sale?
We intend to open the project for sale, yes.
Okay.
You will not be renting.
That is not the plan today, no.
Today? What about
Today.
the future?
You guys probably read the same articles I do every day. I mean, if this housing thing continues, we will probably have to revisit. If we can't sell, I can't have an asset just sitting there racking up interest every month. It's not something we want to do. Providence has never done rentals, really doesn't have a desire to do rentals, but we also just can't die on the vine out there. But we're all keeping our fingers crossed after the first of the year here. Folks start showing up again in the sales floors and people are buying.
Then-
certainly some indicators, where rates are trickling down again. Let's just hope, some things brighten up with the overall economy in terms of inflation and everybody stays employed and.
Then it does bode the question, on the backside then, if, God forbid, we get another '08 recession, Providence is committing that they will operate this and not sell to some third party that we don't know their performance and have never had problems with?
Correct, yeah, our intention would be to stay in the deal, yes, we're not gonna flip it to somebody else, and certainly if it's, I'm gonna stay in touch with Mr. Minchuk and staff and all of you for that matter, and if it's, it's gonna be months down the road,
Right.
but if, it's a big, I wanna keep the word if
Right.
out there. I kinda feel like I'm in a, pardon my French, damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. I didn't want to just keep my mouth shut, let the plat go through, and then I would have been the dirty developer that just, knew you were going to do this all along.
Well, then, can we get a firm commitment that should the if come to pass, that Providence would be the sole owner operator should this turn into a rental development? I trust you. I trust
Well,
you.
real quick, I'm sorry, this isn't my ward, and I
Right,
probably
that's-
have to look to Joe for help on this.
Yeah, well, here's what I'm gonna recommend. If the development goes from a sole project that is seller buyer to a lessor lessee, that's a significant change in the plan, and they come before us before any rentals are approved.
I was gonna ask if we could put a condition on it, Joe.
Yeah, that's my recommendation for a condition.
My
It's a
recommendation.
serious deviation from the,
My motion was going to be, that we go ahead and approve this with the amendment that if this does change as proposed, that we go back through this process again.
Is that your motion, Jeff?
Does that make sense, or Joe, or should I word that differently?
no,
Well, I have a question for the counselor.
okay.
What if he could not sell and somebody came in and wanted to rent with option to buy?
Well, then,
We have a lot of that in Merrillville now.
I'd suggest if they're going to change their plan from a buyer-seller to a lessor lessee, that's a significant change in what's been presented to us.
Okay,
And that at that time, that condition have to be brought before our body here tonight. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
no
Joe,
matter what.
let me say this too, is we ran into a situation, not what Providence has ever done, but we ran into a situation similar to this a few years ago over at White Pines, where there was one builder that built to sell. They came back and decided to have a fire sale, was selling to one buyer and was gonna turn it into a rental development. The argument can be made is they are selling, but they're selling to a third party that then's gonna turn it into a rental. How do we handle something like that?
Well, I don't know if you can handle something like that. That's the real issue, is because if they sell, then, except if it's in their covenant somewhere, that all the units have to be bought and not leased in perpetuity. You can't predict 10 years down the road or whatever else.
Right.
What we can do is we can work with this, and again, let me condition this on the fact that Providence is a very respectable developer.
Right.
They've been here for years, they do good projects. I've known them from different communities, so I have nothing against Providence at all. What I'm cautioning against is the fact that we just give them a blanket approval without a condition that if this situation changes from a buyer-seller to a lessor lessee, that we have a condition in there, on the record, that they have to come before us before they start doing these lessor lessees, so we can hear what they have to say and potentially work with them on that.
Do you suggest a contract be brought up with the lessor and lessee and all that? With them before they start their project?
Here's the deal, we can't get too far in the weeds on how we control their deals.
Okay,
But what we can do is say to them, you brought the development to us with one scenario. We're not changing to another scenario. We want to hear your plan for that scenario before we'll be willing to approve that different scenario, because it's a significant change in the plan that was brought before us originally,
okay.
so.
Well, and I think we had an amendment on the White Pines deal very similar to that, and they had to come before us and then the town council to get an approval to sell to a rental company, for lack of a better term.
Well, I think the counselor has said that in so many words. They would come back in front of us.
I mean,
And,
if it makes it any easier, I have every intention, if we get to that point, that
sure,
we would come in here and give a presentation on the ins and outs and how it's all gonna work and who's gonna be involved.
Well, no, and that's what I think we want. We want to hear from you, how it's gonna work, the
Sure.
logistics, the finite terms, and then we can go from there and approve, or, just hear out what you have to say, and then make an informed decision from there. But in no way are we trying to trip up your deal, or we're trying to impede your deal. What we're trying to do is just ask that if that significant term changes, that you come back and inform the town, and we'll work with you as much as we can.
We have no problem with that.
Great.
Sheila, do you have a staff report?
I thought I read it.
Sheila,
Did
did
we-
you read
we
that
did
already?
She already
I
read
read
that.
We already did this.
She already read that.
No, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Do the engineers have any comments, Steve or Bob?
The only comment I have is, this microphone's on. The only comment I have, the plat is fine. It's been reviewed, and there's nothing wrong with the plat. I just want to, and I remember this was brought up early on about the connectivity. It has nothing to do with your plat. For the connectivity from your eastern property line to Buchanan Street with the sidewalk, the town has right-of-way through there. And I believe Mr. Deering had asked in the early stages that we get that connectivity to Buchanan Street, and then the town of Merrillville will come from the other side. So there's connectivity, almost all the way down through that corridor. Just want to make sure that happens.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
It's in the plans, right? It's in the engineering.
I don't
study.
remember being on the plans. It's something that just popped in my head.
I know, it's in our drawings. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be happy to coordinate the timing with you guys. We can use the same contractor if that works out.
Yeah, we can, we can establish our right of way for you guys, and then we'll connect into you. I just want to make sure that happens still.
Yep, for sure.
So then one last question, Counselor. So with the motion to approve, this would then be recorded at final plat, that if there is any significant change to the status of the buyer versus renter.
Well, as a condition, hopefully that would be recorded on the plan as well, right, Sheila?
Can they put it on there? Record that on the plan?
I actually haven't seen it, but anything's possible.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, we could.
Okay, do we have any comments on this, Mr. Rich?
No.
Brian, you have any more to say?
No, I
Sean?
defer to Jeff.
Nope.
Jeff?
Make the motion.
Okay, can I have a motion at this time to approve?
Jeff did already.
We have a motion, a
Oh,
second on
we
the
did,
floor already.
and we had the second too,
Yes, Sean,
With conditions,
with the condition?
correct.
yes.
Okay, well, with all that being said, I guess it's all been approved for Savannah Cove, and I wish you luck.
We have to.
We have to call for a vote.
Have to-
ma'am.
Oh, we have to call for the
Roll
vote,
call.
not,
No.
every, individually, Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
So we just want to amend the
Yes.
plat.
and I'm a yes too. Okay.
5-0.
It's all been approved, 5-0. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Well,
Have a
thank
great
you.
Christmas,
With the
everyone.
conditions,
Thank you.
remember the conditions,
Yes.
according to our counselor. Okay, thank you. Okay, continuing on with the agenda, item 3, P20PA 1-1222, DVG Team Incorporation, petitioner and Merrillville Development LLC owner, located at the northwest corner of 79th Avenue and Mississippi Street. Plat amendment to a planned unit development on 1.36 acres and a planned unit development with a C3 underlining zoning new development on Lot 2. That was the purpose. Okay,
Oh, so we don't have anything.
introduce yourselves.
Good evening. My name is Jim O'Malley. I'm with Sumac Inc. We are the project architects, and with me I've got Russ Posen from DVG team. And we are here representing Merrillville Development LLC on the property that you stated. We've had 2 workshops, a previous plan commission appearance, and a couple meetings with staff, including Councilman Pettit and Steve King. We're here tonight seeking approval for the amendment to the existing PUD. As a just brief reintroduction, it is a 7,500 square foot retail building with 4 spaces for tenants. 2 have been spoken for, and there is a 3rd tenant looking to take up the remainder of the building. So hopefully within a couple of weeks, we'll be 100% leased.
Okay, since this is Sean's ward, I'll let him speak first.
Why don't we let Sheila do the staff report, Madam President?
Okay, staff report, Sheila.
Petitioner is seeking a plat amendment to a planned unit development to develop retail shops in a planned unit development on 1.36 acres. The proposed retail space will be called 79th and Mississippi Retail Development. It will comprise of 3 retail units and a restaurant. Surface water will be discharged into existing storm sewers to an existing subdivision detention basin and/or surface discharge to Lot 1 within the PUD. Petitioner has submitted a traffic review letter. Petitioner met with Steve King and Councilman Sean Pettit regarding this project. Proposed project will be approved as is until a long-term traffic solution is configured. Petitioner has agreed to participate in the future solutions.
Sean, do you want to tell us about the meeting?
Yeah, Steve and I met with Nick and Russ and Jim and one of the McDermott brothers. And Steve and I basically came up with, we've got a problem, and I guess I speak to Jeff and Margie as redevelopment commission members because this is in the Mississippi Street TIF district. This has got a large pylon sign in the middle of an island at 79th. And we discussed that. As Sheila read in the staff report, this petitioner is willing to participate. We're not in a position right now to do, we did one improvement to 79th Avenue already before Culver's came in. I am in favor of this project. I will probably make a motion when I'm done, Madam President. They realize my concern about lining up some of the cuts with Indiana and the Lowe's cut on the north side. We talked about that. We talked about the possible restriping and eventual widening of 79th because everybody's going to Costco and IHOP and Ollie's and CarMax, and we found out that the vacant land on the south side between, I think, Russ, Jim, was it including Richard's Pool and the vacant stuff all the way to Culver's is under contract, so there's a potential development on the south side. So when that one comes in, I think that's when we'll take a shot, Steve, at the whole 79th Avenue improvement. We'll have to come to the redevelopment commission, take a look at the funding of what needs to be done on 79th. Steve, am I missing anything?
Well, yeah, the big thing that we're missing is on the plat, or on the plan that we're shown now, the curb cut's gone, the pork chop's gone, everything's gone.
No, it's all still there.
It's still there.
It is?
Yeah.
It's a plat. The plat of survey is going to be the lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
The site plan that they'll turn into
Site
Sheila
plan.
and Steve and Bob will be, oh yeah, it'll have the pork chop in there. And they've
Okay.
got the cross,
Part of the design.
and you've got the cross access on the north side of Lowe's lot to come south. We did talk about traffic flow, Steve. What was the conversation we had on traffic flow in the parking lot?
So there's a couple things, yeah, we talked about, you were gonna look into it, Russ.
We looked in it, and one way, I think, just would cause a lot of havoc, and we'd lose probably 10-plus spaces.
Okay,
Turning the angles. We talked about
Yeah,
angling the
We'd
parking.
lose a lot, and it
Yeah.
would be a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we talked about angle parking. one-way counterclockwise traffic flow, through the subdivision. You were gonna look into it. We also talked about, the pork chop staying, and we talked about, people doing the right out and cutting across the turn lane, Brian, to Indiana or Culver, wherever it's at. We're gonna put delineator posts
Yeah.
in the striping.
So they're just not hooking a U through.
So they're
Right.
not, yeah, they're just not making a U-turn. We're gonna delineate that with, tubular markers, to discourage that, from them just, making the right out and not making the full right and, coming across like you had talked about. So they offer that, they said that wouldn't be a problem to them. And as Sean said too, the property on the south side in the future, it's under contract now. We've been told that, if we need some additional dedicated right-of-way to widen that through that corridor, that they'd be willing, the developer would be a willing participant, to that.
Yeah, and
So-
I apologize, Jim and Russ, I apologize. What McDermott brother was, I get them all confused.
It was Brett.
It was Brett, I'm sorry. He's not here. Nick's in the audience chuckling. He did give me the new contact for Cypress Equities. I've got to reach out to him, Steve. You and I can talk to them about
We can.
79th. And that pylon sign is all the tenants that are out there. It's got, Ollie's, it's got Costco, Lowe's. We're gonna have to talk about that as a town because that thing is starting to get rusty and it's old and it just doesn't, I'm not happy with the pylon sign, but
Yeah,
that's a discussion for another time.
Sure.
To add to the statement and add to the meeting, we actually had a very big plan, and actually we had a very good discussion about the possibilities of entrances to the west, the possibilities there, and there was a lot of, in today's current developments, by doing some of these, moving of entrances, was actually gonna create a very unsafe condition or just
Yeah.
not really work.
Yep.
Because, and Steve actually hit it on the head, the whole, from Mississippi to, the entire length of 79th has to be really studied for any major change to what we have to
Right.
actually be safe and work and get to the product that you want. And that's why, the developer did agree, to work with the town because
Yes.
it's a bigger picture than just
Yeah.
us.
Right.
And they've just like Russ said, both developers of, the 79th and Mississippi and on the south side, they've agreed to be, willing participants in this venture, for an overall traffic solution to make that entire corridor, safer. I mean, it's just,
if
it's
it
a
flows-
bigger picture.
If it flows better, it's gonna help out everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely, Joe.
So then, basically, what we are voting on tonight then is to recommend or deny the original layout as it was presented. There's, with this curb cut where it was.
Yep.
The turning lane, the pork chop.
Yep.
Additions of some control measures, but it's the original plan with none of the stuff that we had discussed last time.
Right.
Okay.
And I will make that motion, Madam President.
Can I have a second?
Second.
That's not right.
Okay, second by Mr. Daring. We have a motion on the floor by Sean Pettit.
Did
What?
Rich have any,
Well,
No,
there's discussion.
no, I don't have any questions at this time.
So
That's not-
this is a plat amendment.
This is just a plat
A
amendment.
plat amendment.
This is the
That's what
plat amendment.
all of the other things
Will
that
come
you all
later.
talked about is fine, but it will go through engineering.
Yes.
got you.
All of that, everything that you all discussed
This
is
is just for the
fine,
plat
but it will
We're
go
simply
to
doing
the
engineering.
plat
This is
Okay.
a plat amendment to add this development, lot 2, onto the existing PUD plat.
Okay.
My second
We
stands.
have a motion and a second on the floor for the plat amendment to be added to the PUD. Is everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion approved. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us.
Yep.
Have approved it. Okay, is there any other comments on this development?
Nope, thank you. We'll continue to work with. staff to make
Congratulations,
sure I
guys.
Get all the
Yeah.
comments and everything, and,
Thank you, Russ.
thank you, guys.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, thank you for attending.
guys.
All right, continuing on with the agenda, is there any other business, board members or engineers or Sheila? No other business?
Nope.
Good. Any discussion on anything?
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Meeting is
You gotta
adjourned.
vote on it. Joe.
Yeah.
You gotta vote on the adjournment.
Got to vote on the
Aye.
adjournment.
oh, do we have a vote on these?
They say they not.
Yes.
Aye, okay.
Unanimous.
It was
I went
unanimous.
over there
The
with that
meeting
lady.
is
Legal.
now